Interesting. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off. It's interesting. So at this point, with how many people I've reversed and just how many people I've seen, part of me is wondering because I've worked with the transgender community a lot, and what I've been seeing, this sounds crazy, but you'll know exactly what I mean. But in this PFS, faux PFS world, it's almost like it's driving all these feminizing characteristics and side effects in a physiology that was meant to be male without the hormonal intervention. So, what I mean by that is normally if we have a male who's trying to transition from male to female, that's a hormonal change. We change a lot of cool things. And because of the hormonal changes that are normal, because you're taking exogenous estrogen and things like that, the physiology changes, the neurology changes. In this PFS world, it's almost like that change from masculine to feminine starts to occur without the estrogen,
Yeah.
without all of those changes that other people in that community are already taking. So it's super interesting because then on top of that, then like you said, you have the receptor-based changes, obviously the hormonal-based changes, the neurochemical changes, then the voltage-based changes too. So it's not just like the transitioning concept, it's also these three other things that are causing problems. So I completely
Yeah.
know what you mean. Facially, do you get the facial crashing too? A body with you that's predominantly supposed to be testosterone, DHT, and estrogen, all in balance and in ratio. Now what's going on is testosterone, usually in lab, will come back normal. So that's not really part of the equation. But the DHT is too low. And then the estrogen is not being managed by that DHT. So now not just your estrogen goes up, because depending on the lab work, it might not go up, but its action changes. So you have all these problems going on. Then you go going back like the skin rash you were talking about, the eyes, a lot of that is DHT mediated because that DHT also then modulates dopamine. So then if the DHT isn't there modulating the skin and the gut, it's also not there modulating the dopamine. So then you
Yeah.
have dopamine serotonin that's getting out of whack. Because that's out of whack, then over here it's the glutamate and the GABAergic and the NMDA receptor world. So it's like from just tanking your DHT, all of this happens. Like it's
Yeah.
truly crazy to think about. Doing some supplements, some nutrition, some training, to me, they all have to go hand in hand because, like you said, the higher body fat levels, yeah, it is. More fat cells, more adipocytes are going to aromatase more. So just
Yeah.
endogenously, what you're producing right now, that testosterone going to, well, it doesn't can't go to DHT because there's no 5-alpha reductase. It's just spilling over into estrogen because there's also more fat receptors there. There's more fat cells there. So we're trying to avoid that and push more through that DHT cascade. So usually, and again, not everyone follows through. And usually I find that the people that work with me that don't recover are the ones that just want to do the supplements and nothing else. It's usually you have to do everything together in conjunction. There's a time and
Yeah.
a place for everything, but it's usually the combination of getting in shape, getting your
Yeah.
life on track, and having a purpose day to day. Because if you sit in your room and never leave the house, this happens to everyone. You get in your head, you overthink, you're on the forums. Forums, the internet are awesome, not in this disease dysfunction state, because then you just think and think and think. And then there's something new, and then you try this out, and then it hurts you. And then, oh, gotta try this out, and that, and you don't know who's behind the computer. And it's just this vicious cycle. So it's really getting your life, your health, and your world on track while we also push for the recovery. So my definition of whatever it takes, meaning we may need to push, we may need to pull back. So
Yeah.
patience just as much as urgency. And that's
Right.
the hardest thing because whenever you say I'll do whatever it takes, it's I'll take it though. So it's like if you want to restore that erectile function, first you have to connect the brain to erectile tissue. Because if there's no brain signal, there's no blood flow going down there. So in some way that has to be connected. And then you have to start rehypertrophying that erectile tissue, which comes from multiple different things. It's coming from some DHT locally, some androgen receptors locally, the hormonal environment, but also that neural input. So to me, usually you need that intratesticular action as well, HBG. So
Yeah.
SHBG is not bad. It's really taking hormone and receptor and pulling it into the actual nuclei, allowing it to drive genomic changes. It improves that process better. So take out the overexpression or antagonism, forget about those words, androgen receptor dysfunction. So
Yeah.
instead of trying to fix these receptors, which is really hard to do, why not just create new functional receptors that now work? So what you end up doing is having so much DHT in your system that it's trying to bind. Maybe it's binding, sending a weak chemical signal, but eventually body's gonna have to do something with that hormone. So it's gonna say, hey, we gotta upregulate these. We have to create more androgen receptors. new functional over here. They all start binding. Oh, cool, that worked. The body goes, oh, let's make more ARs. And then these dysfunctional ones aren't going to be used anymore. Let's decay, protein turnover. Let's throw those away, basically recycle the products or recycle the parts of it and make more new antireceptors receptors. So most of the people, because the recoveries are happening every single day, but no one wants to be associated with this disorder. So no one's going online and posting about their recovery. They're just leaving the forums. They're not making videos about their recovery. Like I've had so few testimonials of all the people I've helped in the PFS world because no one wants to be associated with the disease. And it always happens the same. And I get it. But it's like, for me, it's tough because I'll get an email that says, we did it 100%, multiple weeks or whatever. I owe you my life. I'm so happy. Anything you ever need, let me know. And I'm like, hey, I'd love a testimonial. And then about that. And I get it. I'm not holding that against anyone. But it's like, that's partially why the community is so held back because no one wants to talk about it. And I get it. Like, who wants to go on? Like Ryan said, I was castrated. Like, who wants to say that publicly? You know, you too, brother. And I will email you the link to this. It has to download, then I'll send it out to you so you can rewatch it, take notes, all that kind of fun stuff. Take care. Have a great day.